Welcome to Scale With Us, the podcast for business owners navigating the absolute chaos of scaling a business and juggling all that life throws at you along the way.
Each week, we'll be talking about our wins and fails and everything in between because let's be real, it's not all smooth scaling.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let's get into it.
That's the one thing that you and I don't align on. Is tequila.
Yeah.
I love tequila.
What's your preference?
Vodka.
And gin.
Oh,
Interesting.
okay. Is this how we're starting the episode? Hello, welcome guests. Yeah.
What would we be drinking if we could be drinking?
Yeah, so
Tequila, vodka, and gin.
we do usually have drinks, which I guess due to just everything going on right now, we didn't organise anything, but we were just talking about what drinks we do like.
And what we would have if we were
Our
prepared
imaginary
enough.
drinks.
And we decided that we would all have different drinks.
That's
Tequila.
fascinating
Yeah.
content, guys. Fascinating.
God, this episode's going to be great.
Well, we have a guest with us in the studio today. Would you like to kick
Yeah.
us off?
The amazing Kirsty from Made Home. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure being here.
And you and I go way back.
Yeah.
10 years, I would say.
I feel like it feels like, when time feels like it's 10 years, but it's actually probably 15 because
we're-
where did those years go?
Yeah,
It's
so
a long time.
it is a very
Why
long
did you
time.
guys meet?
We were
the story?
working, so we were working at Chadwick Real Estate together on the Upper North Shore, Sydney.
Yep.
And I think you were already there when
I was,
so,
And probably
and I,
maybe a year, 2 years into my time there.
okay, yeah, so I worked there for a good 10 years. So
Yeah.
it is definitely 12 or so years that we've known each other. And we've been through lots of different phases of our lives. So I guess, working in real estate together, and then now we've both got our own businesses, we've got babies, and I know we both look at each other's Instagram and things and go, how is she doing it all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case. You're always looking at other people going, oh my gosh, how are they doing it all?
Yeah.
But it's also the flip.
You're doing it all
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Mm.
So, we both worked at Chadwick together. You were working for an agent as his EA.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah.
I was his first hire, so I don't think he really knew
Yeah.
what he was doing.
Oh, does anybody? And then, I was Scott's EA.
Yep.
And then I think that agent left to go to another agency. Didn't
And then
so you
that's where
went.
Made Home, the concept
Yeah.
of Made Home was born out of
Yeah.
my time there.
I'd
Yeah.
love to know about that. Like, so how is the business? What's the word?
Conception.
Conceived?
Conceived.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, we're talking business conception today, not the other kind with all of our kids. We'll leave that for the
We'll
the X-rated episode later. Everybody knows where they come from.
Yeah.
But not everyone. Like, I actually love the start of business stories, right? Like,
Yeah.
I love the start of just the story around like how agency came to be.
Yeah.
So when did you start getting ideas, and how did that?
Well, property,
Start.
we moved a lot as a family. Mum and Dad were big renovators. We moved over to England and back. And so that, the real estate and love of property and houses was in me from a very young age. And I just loved it. And so then I got into real estate, and it was just that joy of being in people's homes and meeting so many people. And then there were so many roles in that time because we worked with a lot of downsizers. That particular agent sold for a lot of downsizers moving into off-plan developments. And there were a lot of jobs that were sort of coming to me as the assistant that I was like, this is not the role of an assistant. It's like, organizing for this item to be sold on Marketplace. And can you organize XYZ, and it's just these very funny jobs that I was like, okay, you do it because, you want to help the vendor. But I was like, there's a whole business
This falls
here.
outside of the scope here.
100%. Like, should I be packing boxes for this, 90-year-old lady? Of course I'm going to, because she needs some help. But I'm like, this actually needs
Is
to
a
be an
business.
entire business.
Yeah.
And so I think, one of the real differences for Made Home is there are lots of companies that do little parts of what we do. And there are packing companies, there are styling companies, there are decluttering companies, but not necessarily one that does that, from the very beginning to the very end, but also with that understanding of that real estate timeline that's sitting behind it. And so when we come in, we're working probably 80% of the time, a real estate agent has got us in to meet with that client. And so we're working with the agent for their timeline, obviously with the client. But yeah, so it really aligned in that I still have my foot in that real estate world of being able to be in people's homes, but without all of the real estate world that, has the stereotype that goes with it. So no, I find it's a lovely blend of of both passions, I think.
So did you start Made Home when you were working for that agent?
No, it was just after.
Okay, so you left him and then thought, I'm going to start my own business and make this something.
Yeah.
And how did you, I'm always fascinated how people come up with a business but also price things, because I know for me it was very much like, for the VA, they want this pay and there's a certain amount that the business has to make to be run as a business. So I'll just pop that on top and that's the figure. So did you go off hourly rate of your time?
Well, that's the thing. At the start, it was just time for money. It was just my time for money. So it was, I'd go to a client's house, I'd declutter for them for 4 hours. I think I charged out at like $60 an hour.
Yeah.
And I took home that money. And it was like, cool. And then all of a sudden it was, I employed someone else and it was like, oh, now I need to pay them.
Yeah.
And I was doing fixed pricing at the start. And then all of a sudden I was like, I lost money on that job because I quoted poorly and now I'm paying someone else. And it's not just, I didn't make as much money as I could have. I've actually lost money. And so then we completely flipped it to, doing an estimate of, we think it's going to take X amount of hours, but only invoicing for the hours that were actually done. And I remember that light bulb moment in the car. And it was just so one of those that's so simple. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to lose money anymore. I just invoiced for what was done. And it was so, so simple. And I look back on it now and I'm like, duh. Kirsty. But it was one of those big shifts. And it's interesting, actually, we're kind of, in a way, trying to go back to that package-based model now.
Okay.
Because we know when we walk into a house, we know exactly what that's going to cost.
But experience now.
Yeah. And so we sort of want to go back to package-based as a way of creating a bit more margin rather than just hours, here's the invoice. So it's interesting having come full circle.
Yeah.
But definitely at the start it was time for money. Yeah. And just my time. So
yeah.
And it was just you for like, how long was it just you before you then put on that first person?
Probably 2 years. And it was probably more in like a project management space of like, I would hire other companies to come in and do the packing. Or I'd do the decluttering with the client, and then come move day, I'd get other team in.
But you coordinated all for them.
And I'd be that one touch point. And
Which
I'd
is
be that
awesome because moving is exhausting.
Yeah.
The worst.
And it's
Like,
so
I
much
hate
to and fro.
Yeah.
This is a good business idea.
Yeah. People go, she's like, don't you dare.
That's your job. And they go, and I'm like, yes, because everyone's, natural response is, oh my gosh, like, ew, you don't want to move. I can't believe, there's a company that can just take that pain away from me. And, there's a pain point and we've met it and that's why it's working.
Totally.
So, yeah, so it's just me probably 2 years. Probably need to go back and actually figure out the timeline.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at looking backwards.
Yeah.
Awful. I was going through my office the other day and I found like, the folder of all the stuff, and it was like a pay run.
Yeah.
And it was a piece of paper with like 3 of the team and the hours that they'd worked and like a total at the bottom, which I figured out, they worked 12 hours this week.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was it. That was payroll. And I was like, look at where we've come from, but I don't look backwards often.
And you think, it looks so simple back then, and now it's like this big business.
Yeah.
Well, and this is what you're on today, right? This is what is 6 years of having your business, and you've gone from just yourself to now 23 people in your team.
23.
Yeah, which is awesome.
So good.
And I think we had a training date last week. And because I've been on mat leave and a bit more removed, I think it was one of those moments where I sort of got into the room and I was like, when did this happen? Like, it was really
everybody.
shocking.
Do you know everyone's names?
No. There were probably 4 women in the room I didn't know, and that was really like unusual.
That's so funny because Scott Chadwick, we used to when we were working at Chadwick, I'd planned this big event for the whole team, and there was like 60 people, 6 officers, and he'd stand next to me, Jess, who's that? Jess, who's that? What do they do in the company? Because he would just have no idea. And I used to think, oh my God, Scott, like, get a grip. Like, you should know these people. But I've got 100 team now in the Philippines. I wouldn't have a clue who a lot of them are, or what client they, on paper,
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
and I remember like feeling like I had to be, go all the way back. I remember I never want to get off the ground and I always want to be involved with the client. And now I'm like, I don't know what's going on with clients. Like, I don't know who we've moved this week.
Yeah.
And then on the next level up, it was, no, I want to be so involved with the team, and I want to be that first coffee that meets them. I want to train them. I want to, make sure they're representing the brand well and representing, the reputation. And then on mat leave, like we hired, I don't know, 4 or 5 people whilst I was on mat leave, and I've never met them. And then they were at the Christmas party, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's people out there representing all that I built, and I don't know them. And so it's figuring out, I think, going forwards of am I the person that's hiring, or is that somebody else's job? Because I think about a bigger business, I'm like, you don't meet the founder in that interview. But so it's just figuring out, where do I
Richard
sit?
Branson doesn't need all the S.
Exactly. And it's funny that you say that about Scott, because I think as an employee, you go, oh no, like he knows everyone and he's the leader. And
You'd think he does. Yeah.
yes. And so, no, it's just interesting.
But it's about, and this is a shift that I've had to make as well, with like wanting to know everything about
Everything.
yeah.
To let
Like
them go.
we would go. I went on a business retreat a couple of weeks ago, and I messaged the team the list of who was going, and I was like, who is our clients out of this? Who is an ex-client? Who are we currently working with? What are their VAs named? So I could get across it all and then go and have those conversations in the pool with a cocktail.
It's like I'm seeing in Devil Wears Prada, but she's like trying to tell the names. Of like, oh, this is who you need to be talking to.
Yeah,
like a spy. Like
100%.
But you've got to have you've got to have the confidence in your team that you've built them with the resources and the vision and the goal of the business, so they can hire for you, they can interview, they can onboard them. So then you can, at the Christmas party, finally meet them and feel confident that they're really enjoying their role and are on the same vision.
And that they're carrying the culture of the business that you said at the start.
Yeah.
I think it was really lovely. At the last training, we sort of went around, and for the team that had been there for a while, I said, what do you love about working for Made Home? And all of them were so aligned with the original heart that I had behind the business.
Yeah.
And so it was just really refreshing, even though I haven't worked on the ground with these women and I don't know them very well, they're still carrying that original heart. And I'm like, okay, it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah, it's like
okay.
relief pays. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions on that, right? Because I love the how, right? And so my mind, starts ticking away going, okay, so how do you make that happen? And how do you, I think both two parts to that, how from like that cultural value perspective when you're not involved in, every hire in a day to day. So how on that perspective, but then also, you mentioned like brand and reputation and doing a good job for the clients. How do you ensure and measure the success, right? So two parts, how do you make that culture and values filter down? And then how do you make sure the brand and reputation stay strong?
Yeah. Big questions. The culture one feels a little bit like, I don't know how it's happened, but it's lovely that it stayed. And I guess a part of that is, my core team, there's 5 in the core team, and I'm with them often. And so it's making sure, they're the ones instilling the culture, for the rest of the team. And so it's feeding into them a lot. I'll send a video message to the whole team like once a week. And so I think and I just have one point that I want to get across. And so I think that's just a little
So they feel like they know you probably.
Yeah. And also like, this is what's important to me about Made Home. Or I'd really love if we are carrying this into our jobs this week.
Oh, I love that.
And so there's just a little, I guess that's a culture touch point of ensuring that's something that's really important to me.
I don't do that.
No, that's a great idea though.
Yeah. And so I think it's, making sure you've got the right team in place that are then filtering down. So we've just sort of elevated someone into that role of like team trainer, and she absolutely carries the culture and the vision of the business. So I know that any new person coming on, they're spending a lot of time with her, and she is going to instill that in them. So
great.
And I'll pop in every now and then.
Yeah.
Whether that's undercover boss or
Oh, you do that? Do you do?
pop in on jobs. Yeah.
But they know that you're like
Well,
who you are.
coming.
Yeah,
No, they know who I am.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I'll just pop in.
Yeah.
Ooh, so does that answer some of part 2 of that question in like how you make sure that they're out there doing your good work?
Yeah, I guess. And like I want to hear like the feedback of how I like to know that things are going well. And so like in one of our systems, like at the end of a job, they just put a note of, client really happy, day went really well. So that, and again, I feel like it's sounding a little bit micromanagey.
Yeah.
I just like to pop in and know that things are going well.
So spot checking though. It's yeah.
But I do similar. Like I have a recruitment report that gets sent to me every day. So I know each new client that's just come on board, where their recruitment's at, how many they've got to interview, who did they like, who they didn't, are we rehiring, are we, just so I'm across at the end of the day, those new clients, and at any one time there's 15, 20 or so happening at one time. But because people are talking to me all the time on Instagram, it's like I want to know as well. So to the team, it might seem a little bit micromanaging, but it's not. It's really not.
And I think, for a business like ours that's still small, it's going, our reputation is
everything.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And so I do want to know that, yeah, if that client's not happy, why? What happened there? What could we have done? Is there anything I can do to help?
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so it's
And for you though as well, it's you can't have teams spending too long, like going overtime on certain things, because every hour that they go over, you've got to pay for that. How do you manage that? Like,
Well,
what
that
do you
one-
estimate for a job, and then what actually happens?
Well, if it looks like we're going over, we'll just notify the client, like, you know,
Yeah.
XYZ circumstances changed. It's looking like we might need to do an extra hour or whatever it is.
Yep.
My two we area specialists, but sales people essentially have gotten very accurate with that quoting process. And it'll only be like I forgot about the attic. Or, you know, if it's a decluttering space and the client's very slow to work with, because that's an element of that's going to blow us out. So we just high communication with the client of, okay, things are not as fast as we thought. But 75-80% of the time, like, it's pretty on the money. And then, we just invoice for the work that's done. So we're not out of pocket if it does go over for whatever reason. But on the flip as well, like, if we're a lot faster than we thought, we're only going to be charging for that time as well. So
unless you move to this package model, right? So this is interesting because, like, we go through different iterations of business where we might change our offerings. So what's led to this decision to want to potentially repackage the offering?
It's a mixture of, there are like certain services and things I want to do that are really speaking to that premium client that I need to make sure are funded and they're in there, so they need to be covered. But I'm like, I can't just have that as a line item of like nice touches. I want to have flowers when you move in, and I want, you know, like food for your last night in your home to be delivered, so that, you know, you don't need to be cooking. Like, so many like little things that I'm like would really elevate experience. And, you know, like, we get fresh bedding for your bed, and you choose what you like. All those like so many.
They'll be like,
things.
well, I don't need to pay for that.
Exactly, but I need them built in.
Someone's got to pay for them.
Exactly. So going, you know, you know, the best move for you is going to be the bespoke moving package, and it just costs X. We've then got buffer for all those really beautiful touches. / it just allows us to, you know, make a bit more on the top.
Then the client then knows like what to budget for, I suppose, as well. Like, as opposed to it could be X or Y. It's like it's going to be.
It's going to be.
Yes.
And those premium clients, they like to pay for an outcome. Like, they don't want to worry about those details, and they're more than happy to pay for them. Or not even like pay for them. They're just paying for this experience, and then it's all those touches.
Outcome, I think,
and they've got the money.
100%.
So it's,
because one of the questions that I used to ask when I was doing the quotes was, you know, what's important to you at the end of this job? Is it, you know, that it was done as fast as possible? Is it was that you had as little to be, you weren't involved at all? Is it that you were really involved? Is it that it cost as little as possible? Like, trying to figure out exactly what it is that's important to them. Because, you know, you get the client that says, I don't want to see a single box. And it goes, great, give us the keys. Go to a hotel. So
that's the dream, isn't it?
And you have some that do that. I always see one of those luxury getaway cars. That business model, and going, oh, we need to partner with them. And go,
we'll pick you up.
We'll take you away, and you go to your luxury getaway for 3 days. We'll do the move. And
I love your sound of that.
and you just walk in the door with your overnight bag, and it's done.
Oh my God.
Full.
Sign me up.
The wine's ready. Or the tequila and the vodka. It's ready to go.
I love this.
Because of that really stressful day you had moving house.
Well, and I think there's so much that goes into a move that, you know, as the mover, you don't quantify your time and your rate in that, right? So for us as like business owners, if we were going to spend time packing and doing all of those little bits and pieces, and that's like a day we have to take off of our business.
A week. Like, it could be a week. Like,
it's like, what's the value of that, right? We talk a lot about outsourcing, not just, you know, business wise, but personal life. You know, we've talked about, you know, cleaning, meals, laundry, day-to-day stuff in our
time back.
in our life to buy the time back.
100%.
So, you know, I think it's like, if I think back to like when I moved recently, it comes down to the pricing, but also the time. I'm like, I didn't have a huge budget for it, right? And I had a, you know, let's call it like $1,200 for this mover to move it. But then if I look at how much time I then put into it, that I, you know, had to take a few days off for, you know, packing and unpacking, that's affected the
And the
income of
stress.
my
And the
business.
stress.
The
The mental
stress.
load of it.
But then also the move, did go way over. I think it ended up costing like nearly double that
Yeah.
because of it was more hours than anyone thought it was going to because of the access and all of these type of things. Looking at that now, I can look at that differently and go, oh, okay, I could
Actually.
see it's an investment in
Yeah.
not just what I expect a move should cost. It's like actually an outcome that I would be able to
Yeah.
achieve and make sure I've still got the time.
Yeah, it's how much would you pay to not see a box, to have your kids settled up
Yep.
in their new home, their
Mm.
toys are on their bed. Like,
Mm.
what's the dollar figure that you'd put on that?
And then you're not there, like, I'm like, they're doing the flat pack at like
Yeah.
9 o'clock. The kids are like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, Mummy's just got a few more screws. My fingers are sore.
But so Dan Martell, so buy back your
Yeah.
time. I listened to a podcast of his a few months ago. Whenever he's traveling with his family, and he would have private jets. So this is very like
Next level.
next level.
Probably not the
But
next level. Actually,
it's
probably a
like
few levels
a
up.
level.
Just us next year.
Yeah, I was going to say a level we'll probably never get to, but maybe.
I'm flying home this Arvo, guys. Private jet's picking me up.
So his family,
Mm,
they send their luggage on a different jet,
interesting.
which is crazy. But they want
So
to
it's already
arrive.
there.
And it's there.
Yeah,
Unpacked.
and if they can't send it on another jet, it's like it all goes on the jet before
Mm.
them, and then someone gets it off the jet before they're getting off the jet,
And takes
takes it in a car, sets it all up.
Yeah.
They might go and have a cocktail somewhere, and then they get to their
And the
hotel.
toiletries are all set up.
It's all set
I
up.
mean, that's exactly, I guess, what we're doing.
Yes.
Just on the moving house level.
Like
rather than
amazing.
Yeah.
Does Dan Martell know about you?
Yeah. Next time he's in Australia, he was actually here not that long ago. Yeah. Don't know him, but I'll yeah.
We'll just tag him in the episode.
Yeah.
See what happens.
We should.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. Like that's, this is what, like, startup world is just crazy, right? Because it's just creating something out of nothing, which is just what I love, right? Like this, was essentially nothing 6 years ago. And now you've built it into, not only a proven, viable service, but it's growing. And it's obviously, you just said before we started recording, you've literally just put on like another 4 team members in the last couple of weeks.
In 6 or 7.
That's big. Maybe 6 or 7.
You're like, I haven't checked today. It could be some problem.
I interviewed 2 yesterday.
But like that's big. That sounds like big growth that's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
And I think we Jess was saying just before we got on, like, how do you manage the, I suppose where it's project based, right? How do you manage the, okay, well, I know we've got X amount of work coming up.
Yep.
The capacity, we need more team. How do you know when to put more team on?
Oh, that problem has been the problem since we started hiring. It's this constant juggle of, we need more team. Okay, now we've got a bit of a lull and now we can't give our team enough shifts in the week.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, it's just has felt like this yo-yo probably for 4 years. And so whenever we have these core team meetings and it's, oh my gosh, we need more staff, it's just like, how are we back here again? And I just think maybe in this period of business, we'll never find that sweet spot. And then I feel like we just are constantly hiring. But I also do think we're at a new level now where there's a base level of, we always have a certain amount of work. So I don't think whereas in the early days it was, oh, sorry, girls, there's no work this week. But maybe next week there'll be an absolute, it'll boom. Whereas I think now it's like, no, we've always got a set level and that we're established enough. That,
And can you see ahead, for months ahead now for the bookings and capacity?
yeah, working with agents, they love to do things
Last minute.
What?
I say. I need it now, meaning like yesterday.
Yeah. So we do have some where it's like, oh, we want to be on the market next Saturday. Can you come
When
in?
it
And it's a
starts.
border house. And it's like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Whereas you have others where, if we're moving them, it's, okay, we know that property has just exchanged. We've got 6 weeks before their settlement. We can book them in and we have that forecasting. So I think a little bit is, seasonal, and that in the past winter has been quiet. When a very early winter is quiet, back half of winter typically picks up going into spring. But I'm hoping that this year, because of all the work that I'm doing with connecting with new partners and new real estate agents, I'm hoping that we'll just actually counteract that winter lull. So I'm nervous about it though, because we are staffing up like a lot.
Yeah.
And in past, winter is quiet. But I think in general, we're growing enough that we'll hopefully scoot through.
Oh, no, yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
as my mind starts again, like ticking away, going, okay, well, like, what could you, if you didn't have as much work and you wanted to retain the staff, like how, what could you do to quickly get some additional work booked in, right? If it's decluttering, that's quite a
Yeah.
popular service
Yes.
at the moment for just in general. Like, do you just go and do some quick marketing for specific services if it's not the whole big thing to fill them
so
up?
we had this at the end of last year where, because of that model that I'd set up of X amount of staff to accommodate what was hopeful growth coming in, it was a very expensive model to run, and we needed some cash. And so it was this moment of what can we do to bring some money in the door? And so we came up with a couple of different like products. So we started doing like open home preparation. So for those really big properties where they just want to leave the house on Saturday morning and go to sport with their kids, we'll come in and do all their open.
Especially the big houses.
Big houses. And if they're styled, like, and they've got kids running around, like they're not chopping all those pillows. And, they've got breakfast bowls on the sink. It's just in the pillows there.
Someone's got to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and real estate invented the chopped pillows. From real estate styling.
100%. Oh, 100%. And so that was just like a quick one that we threw out. And it definitely didn't have the uptake that I wanted for the sake of getting money quickly. But it was something that all I had to do was book in one, and, there was a little bit of extra cash. And then a couple of just add-ons that I think they were easier. So I definitely think it was less about what offer. I think I've struggled with like doing an offer because I look at product-based businesses. And I'm like, they can just do a sale.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they get a bit more in. Whereas like a sale for us doesn't really, it's too much of a financial investment for someone that, and it's got to be the right time for them. It's not like, I'll move now because they've got a sale on. We've got to land at the right time for them. So it was also going into Christmas. So it was a really tricky, like, we need to get some cash, but everyone's got to slow down.
Christmas Day home prep. Because, like, honestly, the last time I had, when I lived actually up here on the Central Coast a few years ago, I reckon I spent like weeks preparing the house. It's all the pruning and the cleaning and the organising because everyone's coming to your house. You want to have it spick and span. So maybe it's Christmas prep.
Made Christmas. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Let's chat.
And you come and set up like the full lunch and
everything. Organise the caterers. Well, I guess like when we're working with that premium, I mean, they're doing that.
Totally.
So it's like what for those existing clients that you've done a really great job for, is there going back and branches of different services that could.
Yeah. And also going back to those clients that have just moved and going, how are you settling in? Let's come and do some decluttering for you. And we'll do it at X% off or whatever. I'd love more levers I could pull to bring in cash.
When I lived on the Gold Coast, Clint did a couple of summers of working for a Christmas tree farm guide. And he was in Falls Creek. They would cut all the Christmas trees, take them up to the Gold Coast, and they would go and put the Christmas tree and style these beautiful mansions on the water. Like
Christmas prep.
Christmas prep.
Yeah. I would actually
They would spend a lot of money to have a beautiful, real Christmas tree and all the decorations.
Like Kardashian style. Like you could do full Kardashian. We've really just taken your business in a whole new direction now. This is probably not helpful at all.
Well, no, but it is for the sake of like getting creative with what else could we be doing.
Yeah.
Because I think we get, caught up in this is our offering and this is what we do and this is what we do really well, but we don't probably spend a lot of time thinking about Christmas trees and going, there's a whole nother range of things we could be doing that are really simple add-ons that could bring in more money.
Especially around that Christmas, not to get stuck on the whole Christmas thing, but like around Christmas, not many real estate agents are like preparing.
They hold till the new year. A lot like that last December period, they're not listing a lot.
Yeah, Christmas, the lead up to Christmas is very busy for us with people moving in before Christmas.
That's
all the prep work for new sales are happening in Jan.
Yeah. I had it. We'll cut this out. I had a question that I thought of. I was like, okay. So your marketing, I obviously saw your brand, what it was when you started, and I forget the name of what it was
before we rebranded.
Yes,
Simply Sorted.
That's right. Simply Sorted. And so I watched you go through the rebrand. Incredible rebrand.
Thank you.
To Made Home, the whole branding, you did the vans, everything,
a whole lot.
And I feel like it was a huge level up from what you had started with.
Yeah.
And your marketing now, obviously, you've got to connect with agents. You've got to sell them on the service. Has a lot of your growth been organic, or have you just targeted out agents that are dealing with those higher end?
Yeah.
I
probably got really clear about, I guess it was what's my job.
Yep.
In that we've never really done marketing per se, like Google ads. Like we've just never spent money there. The only form of marketing that we did was wrapping the vans so that we had a presence on the roads.
Yep.
And so all the rest of it has been real estate agents and targeting them. And because when they introduce us, like it's just a no-brainer in that their vendor has a problem. We have the answer. We're helping the agent. We're helping the vendor. So our turnover is not turnover. What's the word when you get the job?
Take up.
Sure, let's go with that. There's another one thing though, but that works too. Take up. Hit rate. One of those.
Yeah.
Is really hard.
Right?
Yeah.
Conversion.
Conversion.
We took 3 business owners 5 minutes to get there, but we got there.
Conversion rate is very high because we're being introduced at such
The perfect time.
perfect time. And so it's funny because when referrals come through other platforms, super low conversion because I'm like, you're not quite. It's very easy.
Maybe this hasn't been a direct referral as well.
And the word of mouth is obviously solid gold. So as far as marketing goes, what was the question?
Well, it's like, do you have to go and target real estate agents? Do they come to you, or like, is there other sources of business for you?
So I'd say probably 80% is through real estate agents and buyers agents. And I probably got really clear about a year ago on like, they're who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Pretty much on my socials, I'm talking to real estate agents. And our following is again, probably 80% people in the industry.
Yeah.
We do a mail out. They're all real estate agents. So it's funny because our like B2C is actually very, very low in that.
Yeah.
Like I occasionally post on like those business hours and a few like Facebook mum groups, and we get a little bit in there, but a lot of it is I'm talking to the agents, and I pick the ones I want to work with, and I see what they listed, and I go, you're the one I want, and so then I will woo them, and then I'll get the meeting, and then I'll present at the sales meeting, and then we create some pieces together of what they could be offering their vendors, and then we're in.
So good.
Yep. So that's been
Have
latest.
you ever considered anything like franchising or, there's lots of pockets.
Well, I was going to ask, are you just
country.
Sydney based now?
Yes, we'll go out of Sydney for like we're in Barrel yesterday for a job. But yes, just in Sydney at the moment.
Central Coast?
Again, we'd do an unpack here.
Yeah.
So like if a client was moving to the Central Coast, and we've done that before. We did Port Macquarie a few weeks ago.
Okay.
But only like if we were moving a client out of Sydney.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't make sense to go there to just do some decluttering.
Yeah.
You need to take a whole team and make it worth it. But no, absolutely. We've looked at franchising. I think this latest jump, so it was the way that it's set up in that we have, our salesperson, a project manager, and then the team that do the work. And so we doubled that just before I went on this latest maternity leave. So now we have 2 salespeople, 2 project managers, team leaders, and then the team underneath. And so that's quite a copy and paste model. In that my next, probably next year, maybe the back half of this year is Eastern Suburbs.
Yeah.
And that would be, I have another salesperson, I have another project manager, I have a team over there, and I have a van and storage over in the East. So this little model that we're currently running is quite, copy paste.
Yep.
And then on a greater level, yes, you would offer that person a franchise in the East or in Wollongong or wherever it is.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something we've looked into a while ago.
Yeah.
Before I had kids, we looked in the franchise model, and then it sort of just got away from me a little bit, and it's been growing, which I guess we're testing the product to get it ready to be in a place to maybe go down that path.
I think the East would be so good.
It's one of those, it's a tap I don't want to turn on yet.
Because you're scared.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And also we go over there probably twice a month anyway.
Yeah.
Because of clients
Do it.
moving
I'm
there.
so excited for this.
Yeah.
Do
well,
it.
well, I met with a buyer's agent 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, I was driving there, and I'd had 2 really big meetings that week with where I'm presenting to the whole office of real estate agents. Yeah. And so then I just kind of didn't think about this coffee. I was like, I've just got a coffee meeting.
Just a coffee. Yeah.
And then I was like, this is with one of the most reputable buyer's agents in Double Bay. And I was like, this is a really big deal. And it was one of those, I was like, oh my goodness, I have not thought about this or prepared for this. So it was a really great coffee, and we're connecting, and he was the concierge guy who looks after all of their clients once they buy.
Everyone that you want. Yeah.
The one I want.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that was lovely. He got what we did. Move on. He'll call us in a few months when the right thing pops up. And then on Monday, he just CC'd 2 of his clients in, being like, okay, so Made Home, they're our go-to company.
Yeah.
My clients have just bought in Double Bay. Kirsty, I'll let you take it from here. And I was like,
Okay,
well,
right.
have I accidentally just gone into the east? But I hadn't really
You're like,
planned
shit, I
to.
need a team.
And I think that's where this organic growth comes from, and that I'm now going. And I went to such a spin that Monday of, oh my gosh, the brand isn't premium enough. I'm like talking to my graphic designer, being like, change everything.
Yeah.
I need to be
I
like
need to burn it down.
100% of like we
just talked about this.
and like if we're moving $20 million houses, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, we need new uniform. We need everything needs to change. And I watched
We
myself
need uniforms from
spiral.
Gucci now.
In your CRM, like this was us, like.
And so I guess that's where that organic thing happens, and that like someone just catches wind of it, and now I go, okay, if I was to have a team out there, what would that look like? Who would it be? Do we need another van? Like, so, and that's been this last week of going, okay, if that's going to happen, and if he's going to run with
with
this,
it,
and the whole agency is going to catch wind of it,
We
we need to be ready for that. And so I'm like, okay, well, we're staffing up, but I don't need to be staffing up over there. So
it's got goosebumps. I'm so excited for you because I feel like it's these points where you go, you can either say, oh, we're not taking on many clients in the east, or we're just doing the one here or there when we can fit it in. But you could actually really run with it.
100%.
And get a new van. Like this is the point where a couple of episodes ago we were talking about investing in your business and, you know, do you believe in yourself enough to invest in your business and
to figure it out.
And obviously, like you do, like you've got the model, you've had this huge growth, and now it's like you could run with this and instantly, well, not, you know, we say instantly, but there's a lot of work that goes into it.
It's one of those where like, it's that moment I had where I'm looking at my team and I'm like, oh, it got so big. That felt instant.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not 6 years of work, but like in that little moment, it was, oh my gosh, this is like
you're an overnight success now.
It's like it takes 10 years to become an overnight
100%.
success. Yeah.
But it is this interesting thing. It's quite a big topic, so we don't have to fully go there. But I feel like the last model of setting it up, and you've got all these fixed costs to hopefully reach a next level of revenue. And so all of that I had hoped would get us further. And now I'm already like, oh, okay, we need another van. Yeah, I need 2 more staff. And so I'm like,
what keeps growing?
Is it just going to be one of those where our revenue goes up, but then so do our costs? And then to get to that next level, our costs go up again. I'm like, is that just what business growth is? Or is actually the model a little bit broken and we need to find margin because it's not actually a super profitable business? Like, yes, we're growing, but I'm like, so are all my costs. Yeah. So it's this little like
that always
dance of do we jump in the east and get the van and get the thing and hope that it pays off? Or do we sit where we are right now and actually just bank a bit of cash?
But charge more for the east.
100%.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, East.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
You guys have the money.
Legal?
So
like just
you can charge whatever you want.
Yeah. But you're paying, and this is why I asked at the start, charging time for money, or you need to charge for the outcome. Yeah. Because the people in the east and up in North Shore, they've got the money, but they're paying for the outcome. They don't really care what it takes to get there.
How many team were on the ground? How long they were there?
They don't want to know.
They're not even there.
No.
You know, they're at the property in Jindabyne, which we had clients. It was actually during COVID, and it was they just left very quickly to get out of Sydney. Yeah. And they handed me the keys and said, just do it. We'll be back. And they didn't come back for 6 months. And it was like, we set up the beds, the fridge was full, like it was ready to go. And then they just didn't come home because of lockdown. And it was like, oh, that would have been a really beautiful like testimony, a moment for them to come home and be dazzled by their
But that was
house.
their choice. They could have
100%.
Yeah.
But it was one of those. It was like, okay, well, in 6
6
months
to do it.
give me your review and tell me how it felt coming home to this new house. But it for them, it was just get it done. We don't care what it costs. And so it's finding that client too, and going, we don't want to do. And that's definitely changed as well. I think when it was just me, I wanted to help anyone I could. And so it was, I'd go and do the terrible little house where I actually didn't really make any money, but I was helping, 90-year-old.
I wanted to help everybody. I think that's very common for us.
And then it's just, now that we're paying people and there's a business to run, it's going, actually, that job makes us no money. We're not doing those anymore. And so it's been about educating our agents going, hey, we used to be the just get made home in and they'll fix any problem. And now it's, I don't want to be doing jobs that are under 3K. Like, it's not worth the cost of putting it on.
Yeah.
So that's been a shift of targeting those premium agents. And
do you
place to go to?
Sure. Do you target property, like the higher end property managers as well, and also the there's companies out there that work with corporate
Yes.
that when they've got a huge
Relocation.
role to fill in
Yeah.
their business, like a CEO or whatever, and they're literally moving the whole family into some big mansion that the company is paying for.
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. So to like set the home up for them, get ready for this, big CEO to come and move to another state.
It's been one of those that we've looked into and
Yeah.
just haven't had the time
Yep.
to do it. But
Mhm.
property managers, yes, but again, not properly.
Yeah.
In that it might be that they're a part of a meeting when I present to a whole company and they go, oh, yeah. But I love it when they're only renting, because we had a family that we moved them 4 or 5 times.
I love that.
And they had 6 kids. And so, by the end of the day, there was $100,000 out of that family because they moved so many times rather than just big move, one big investment, and that's it.
Yeah. And then you never have to deal with that client again or.
Yeah. So no, definitely. At the end of the day, whether you're leasing or buying, someone's moving house.
Absolutely.
There are boxes that somebody doesn't want to pack.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. There are so many little untapped areas, which I think about if, I had the team to do the little things that I'm doing now, that's what I'd be doing, is looking into all of those avenues and connecting with those people.
So what is that? So what's that next stage for you in the business? Because you literally just mentioned that if you had more team or resource in place, you'd be able to do more things like that. So what's that next puzzle piece for you?
Well, because it's interesting. I've definitely felt the first 2 months of the year, it was just connect with as many agents as possible. And now I've had to pull my foot off that accelerator because we don't have the team and the systems to accommodate it. So now I'm sort of facing internally. And so I think it's always going to be a bit of doing both. Maybe. I would love to not do the systems and the processes. It's not my strong suit. I'd love to just go out there and eat with new agents and go and get new partnerships. But at the moment, I feel like I can't. Like I see, there might be an agent that pops up on Instagram and I'm like, oh, I want to work with them. But I'm not going to message them because we can't accommodate it right now. So I think there's a little bit of me that's scared of, it's not scared of growth. It's just I don't want to put myself out there and not be able to back it up to the quality that I want to be able to back it up to. But I think there's there's a lot I could be doing in that business development space.
But what's that blockage point then? Like what's holding you back and stopping you?
It's probably team in that we're turning jobs down at the moment because we just can't fulfill those jobs. And then again, that fear of if I go and make those partnerships and an agent gets it, because some agents just don't get it. Like I've been in sales meetings where like I'm in and out in 6 minutes and the only question was, what does it cost? And then I've been in others where I'm in there for 2 hours and we're collaborating and figuring out, okay,
those are the key
where can we bring you in to help our vendors? So you get one of those and I get a bit nervous because I'm like, oh, they get it. Like every vendor, and I look, they're selling, as an agency, they might be selling, 100 properties a month. I'm going, oh, if all of them jumped on board, like we're not going to be able to do that at the level I want to do it at. So I guess it's setting up systems that can just accommodate that growth that quickly, but so that nothing falls through the cracks.
But if you said that's not your strong suit, so is that another ops kind of hire in your business?
I think the next hire will be a sort of COO, in that currently it's me, my 4 core team, and then the rest of the team. But I think there needs to be a middle between them.
Yeah, if you just focused on the networking and the outreach and doing sales meetings, and you had someone else literally,
running it and making those decisions,
doing the hiring, so Thursdays my husband has the kids, and so I try and fill that day as full as I possibly can. And so 3 hours of that yesterday was interviewing new people, and it's
you shouldn't be.
Well, that's the thing. It's this little let go of is that my job anymore?
That's not,
because I want to know who's coming into my business.
Yeah,
but I go, that was 3 hours of time.
Oh God, yeah.
So I'm like, I could have been meeting with a real estate agent, but I've taken my foot off that accelerator at the moment because my team is at their capacity and they're going, we need more team. XYZ's not working within the business. And so I'm like, okay, I need to fix all of this before I'll permission myself to go out and get more, which I struggle with because that's what I'm good at and that's what I love. So it's a funny, I look at the next few months and I'm like, ugh, systems. Budget.
So this is a good thing, because we talked about this a few episodes, is this a build phase for you? Like, so is it a phase? Like, have you kind of thought, or can you see ahead with that foresight to go, okay, well, by the time, in 2 or 3 months, we'll be through this because I'll have put A, B, C into place? Or are you still kind of figuring out what that looks like after that period?
Like we're doing, no, probably in that first one of we've just done this big hire and we've got someone at the moment who's doing a big like systems audit. She's going to hopefully come through and make some big changes that's going to help things run smoother. So it's this funny one going into June. If we were going into spring, I think I'd be a bit more excited because I'm like, yeah, we're staffing up. Our systems are getting clean. We're going into spring. But I do hope, I've never worked as hard as I've worked in the first few months of this year with all those partnerships and like we went from, low key at the end of last year, me going, are we done? Like we've run out of money.
Oh,
like,
really? Yeah.
Well, it's funny in hindsight. I go, oh, that's dramatic.
Yeah.
But in a moment, I was like, Cashflow,
we've been there.
we're like, and it was that, I think it's the first one, which for the, fact that we've been in business for 6 years, I'm like, pretty good that first like real, oh shit moment, 6 years in.
Yeah.
But it was like, is something broken here? Because we keep catching our tail of
a little bit ahead and then falling.
Yeah.
And then I came back to work after mat leave in Jan, and my sole focus in Jan and Feb was connect with as many real estate agents as possible. And then Feb and March were the strongest we've had in the life of the business. And so it's okay, something is working.
Yeah.
And so I go, if I keep going at this pace, we'll counteract winter, but we're hitting a new level that we've never hit before. So that's really exciting, but it does come with all of those thoughts of, I need everything to be perfect and I want my systems to be running smoothly. And I don't think we never arrive. Like I want to get to a point where I'm like, the systems are perfect. Let's go.
Yeah.
I can now meet with everyone with no fear.
Yeah, that never happens.
It's never going to happen because then we'll have a team of 35 and then
Problems come along.
Yeah, 100%. So, why do we do this?
Steve, would you ever consider looking at an investor or a partnership or something with someone that can inject some capital to then move to the east?
Well, that was sort of at the end of last year was, okay, do we need someone to come and give us some money? And because like we'd never had anyone at the start. So it was just what like Chris and I could put into the business.
For sure.
And so it was one of those like, we just, and I think it's the classic, comparison game. If I look at big businesses with like young founders, I'm like, oh, they're killing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, but
they're bootstrapping it and they're doing this.
Yeah. But I'm like, 99% of the time, they've had some investment there. And so
they had money behind them to start.
100%. And I think it was really interesting in that point of, okay, do we need someone to come and bail us out? And I was talking to my sister and she goes, no, like you're just in your investment era. And I was like, oh, that shifts it for me of like, I don't need someone to come and save me with some money. It's no, like we've got a business model that really works. We just need some investment to get through this really little cash flow problem and then we can boom. And so, yes, I've thought about it, but again, it's just a very foreign area that I'm like, oh, and I'm like, do I have to give up some of, my ownership or control? And
you don't have to.
Yeah.
No, can you be profit share?
Yeah.
There's ways of doing it. I only know because I've looked at it a few times. You don't have to
within
give
your
up.
business that would you'd have in there as a partner. Don't have to name names because I'll probably listen.
Yeah, you could bring someone on as a partner or even just profit share.
Yeah.
That could inject a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Whether they have it or remortgage or whatever.
There are some that have been with us, for 5 years now, like really since the early days. And so it's wanting to go, I obviously value you so much as an employee, but you're not just an employee.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where that comes in.
Yeah,
of
for
like
sure.
wanting them to get involved in feeling like they have a part of this business.
Yeah.
And then also a part of me goes, if someone gave us $500,000, I'm like, what would I do with it?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like that, and that's scary. Same as the East and turning that tap on. It goes, oh my gosh, what would I do?
Think of the marketing. You could have, new hires like BDMs to go out and meet, 50 new, officers a week or something.
And so,
like,
and it's
crazy.
that point of, at what point do you tick over from just this lovely organic growth, which is really lovely and it's doing really well, to that sort of like, let's get investment, let's go hard.
Well, that's a very good question of like, what do you want for the business?
Yeah, what do you want?
Because then the decisions around that can map towards that.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, do you have a clear vision of where you want the business to go to, or is it more being and kind of, I don't know, we'll just see where it goes?
It's been a bit fluid in that, like, you know, as I said before, it was, I never want to get too far away from the client. And I genuinely I loved working with the client. And now I'm like, obviously I still love our clients, but that's not my headspace anymore. And then it shifted to like, oh, I want to be with the team. And so as when I look forwards, I'm like, I don't know. I think we're just rolling right now. But I think it is important to know where you're going so that you're putting plans in place to get there.
Yeah. And you can take the team with you. Yeah. Otherwise they're kind of like, oh, it's just a job.
Yeah. But you can also end up somewhere where maybe you don't necessarily want to be. It's like that that fisherman story. You heard that fisherman story?
You have to fill us in.
Yeah. Nothing to do with fishing. So, but no, there's there's a fisherman on the beach, say in Thailand, we'll call it, and like a businessman's like walking along, he's on his holiday, and he sees a little fisherman. You know, he's got like a good catch. He's come in from the day, and the businessman says, "Oh, you've done really well with your fishing today. You know, like what's your secret?" And he's like, "Oh, you know, I just love what I do. I get to fish all day and blah blah blah." He's like, "Oh, well, you know, what do you do with all the fish?" He's like, "Oh, well, I take it to the market and sell some and make some money and." You know, keep some for my family. And he's like, oh, well, you know, like if you got like a bigger net, like you could actually, you know, make twice the amount of fish and make twice the amount of money. And he's like, oh, cool. Then what would I do? Well, then you could probably get like a bigger boat and maybe get someone to come out and help you and catch even more fish and make even more money. And the fisherman's like, oh, cool. Then what would I do? And he's like, oh, then you could like actually get like a fleet of boats and you could take all the boats out and, you know, make lots and lots of millions of dollars. And then it's like, cool. Like, actually, then what would I do? And he's like, well, then you could, you know, then you could retire and go fishing all day. And it's like, oh,
that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
What, you know, he already has that in his life and he's, you know, living a simple life.
Yeah.
So it's that dichotomy of like, you know, do you go big for just the sake of going big, you know, because I mean, there's desire around that. Okay, if you had wealth where you didn't have to worry about money at some stage, you could sell the business and walk away with, you know, all the billions and trillions of dollars that you make. That would be great. But also, you know, what do you have to sacrifice along the way to get there? Because, you know, you've got a young family and I'm sure there's you know, we talk about this a lot on the podcast around that, I don't know, the stress between do I put more time into the business or do I put more time into the kids?
Exactly that. Because
along the way.
It's one of those where I'm like, oh, I know, you get caught up in that line of, oh, I want to set it up so that I can spend more time with my family. But
for right now or in the future, like
and if I am making it a bigger beast, it's only going to require more from me in a way.
If you wanted to,
if I wanted to,
other people in place,
absolutely.
Or does the organic growth feel more manageable because you have more control over your time? Because it's that tap, like for me, when I think about those taps, oh, that's a good opportunity. It's like I'm going to have to spend more time on that.
Yes,
and I don't know if I've got that in me.
Yeah, I mean, like, Frankie's only 3 and Finn's 7 months old. I'm like, because especially going to this, I have a lot of energy for, like, January and the new year. So I was, like, looking at my year and I was like, okay, I've got 3 days of a week-ish that I can get work done. And especially when I think about those taps, I'm like, oh, I just want 5 days a week. Like, what childcare arrangements can we figure out so that I can just go?
Yeah.
And also, I'm coming back from mat leave. Like, I'm, like, so hungry for the business. But also, I'm like, he's only 7 months old. Like, we don't get this time back.
I know.
But also, like, the tap's there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
I struggle with this on the daily. And
So, you know, as I was leaving today, Frankie's like, oh, I don't, and I worked all day yesterday. She goes, I don't want you to go to another meeting. But on the flip, we've just come back from Japan. And when we talk about, oh, Daddy's going to work, and she goes, well, why? She's also in the why phase.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is why. And it's like, oh,
how old is she?
3.
Yeah.
3 in June. Why? Oh, so that we can make money. Why? So we can, like, go back to Japan and, like, because she's all about Japan. And so it's so funny now. She goes, are you going to a meeting? I'm like, yeah, girl. She goes, oh, to make money for Japan? I'm like, yeah. And so it's like, but that's a big why of, like, I want to be able to take them to Japan. And, like, I grew up in the UK and I'd love to take them to the UK and be able to step away from the business for a month to do that. And so it's this, I mean, like, I feel like there's so many episodes that I've listened to that are about this. How much do you give so that you can be with your family? But
And I don't know that there's a right answer for that.
There is a right.
And I think it's seasonal too.
Yeah.
Totally.
But like, end of last year, beginning of this year, the business needed me to come in and work very hard. And so now it's not that I can step back, but it's, I don't need to work 5 days a week.
You can't
and
have
really
a breathing
enjoying
space,
my days with the kids and not trying not to be in the headspace of thinking about work. But
and we talked about this a few episodes ago, like the build phase, and so I mentioned that before. Because I'm just coming. I hope I'm at the back end of it.
I don't think you are, but
sorry, Shane. There's the hope. There's the hope. I think I'm close to, or I'm halfway there. I'm on the back end, Taylor, but where I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, where I won't have to maybe work so hard, and that's been by design, like intentionally kind of go, what do I need to do to step out of it? Because I don't want my days to look like and feel like this anymore. I'm like burnt out and exhausted. I've struggled with that too. It's like, but if I did just push harder, like there is more opportunity and there's more money and there's more opportunity there. But it's, also like I'm watching this, when you're scrolling on Instagram, those videos pop up and it's like, the first 3 years of your kid are the most important. Yeah, the next year you're 10, and once they're 10, you're lost, and you're the most important person. They're the first 10 years, and I'm thinking, I've been working too much.
You've only got 18 summers with your kids, and I was like, please, like that is, you've probably got 16, and that's even more depressing. Like,
I mean, and
but gone.
It was good. I mean, you see these things, it did make me kind of question and pull back. And I think there's things that happen outside of work as well that make you go, okay, well, like I had a friend, an old friend pass away in January, got cancer. It was, very sad and sudden, right? But it makes you
totally,
A, not only horribly sad for that family, but B, go, oh, wow, like she was my age, like our age, and
absolutely
didn't, get to maybe spend as much time with her family as she wanted to do all the things that she wanted to do.
100%.
And I think it's not to say, not spend so much time in business if that's what season you're in, but I think recognize the seasons and probably keep asking yourself, okay, is this what I really want? Am I happy? Like that check-in to go, am I where I want to be right now, or what needs to change to get there?
And I also think, like, on the flip, there's this really, I want Frankie and Finn, like eventually when he's old enough to understand, for them to see me love what I do. Like, it's when, like, when your kids see you exercise and that you value looking after your body. And I love that Frankie watches me go to meetings and come home and I've got so much energy to give because that filled me up and I loved what I did that day. And so teaching them that as well. And that, like, what a privilege that we get to do what we love. Like, and like I talked to a few of my friends and we're all doing the jobs we want to do. But I'm like, most of the world is not working in what they want to do and they don't feel fulfilled. And so there's a part of me that loves being that role model to Frankie of find something you love and go for it.
That's a really good reframe, actually, because yes, like there's probably a difference between working hard and busting your guts and working long hours and coming home tired and exhausted in something you don't love and versus actually, doing and building something you love and also building something for your future and your 100%. Family.
I mean, like, we're not at school or like that schooling phase yet, but I'm like, I want to send them to great schools and it's that classic, everyone's asking how many children are you going to have? And it's like, oh, well, 3 and 4 if we can afford it. It's like, when did that become, that's where we're at the moment in that life is so expensive. And so it's going, okay, well, if we want 4 kids, I need to work very hard right now to.
Well, because you know what that's going to cost, right? So you can reverse engineer it, which is, it's the business question as well, like the vision, right? Like, so I do this a lot with my clients. It's okay, well, like if you did want to exit the business in 5 years or 10 years or 1 year, like what's the number that you'd want to walk away with? And at least if you don't know what the goal is and what the business is going to look like to get there, kind of go, what would you be wanting?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, well, the revenue would need to be here and
it gives you a plan. Yeah, I think it's one of those where I feel like I get quite overwhelmed with big picture, or that big, I think. So I'm like, but we're over here. How do we even get there? But then again, I don't look backwards often. But I'm like, if I looked back at where we were, and
what you've done in 6 years,
it's like I feel like it's trending at the moment. Like if I could tell my 25-year-old self,
I met my younger self.
Copy with my younger self. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd look at myself and go, look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm looking ahead and going, look at what they're doing. That's cruel. Why are we like
Side note,
that?
have you seen that one where it's like, this is very off topic, well, not on topic, but the one where it's like, it's a video and it's like, little did she know, like,
Oh, yeah.
3 minutes later, she'd get a call that
Yeah.
would change her life. I'm like, fucking bullshit. You weren't filming yourself at like 8 minutes before you got the call to, I don't know, go global with that.
Yeah.
Thing. Like,
Or like, yeah, this reel would go viral and that it would change. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I've actually got one saved in my drafts. I haven't posted it. It's like my kids playing really nicely together. I'm like, little did you know, 2 minutes later, this would turn to utter chaos.
Yeah.
But
Always
you
done
didn't
it.
know. Love it. Oh, so, okay, reflecting then on your journey, because you're not good at that. What's been your biggest lessons along the way?
Ooh. I think, yeah, one of them is not waiting until something's perfect to do it. I'm like that. I feel like very much in that thick of
That's
that.
good advice you could take.
Yeah.
Actually.
The East.
The East.
You don't need new uniform.
Yeah, you
Just
don't.
go
You
into the East.
You could hire a van, you know. It's like you could make something work.
Yeah, you can just make it work.
Mm.
And like I'm working with a new coach at the moment, and it's all about this. It's get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And would anyone notice if you're in different uniforms? Like, or
No,
they wouldn't. And our uniforms are beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
things like that. And like this email out that I've been doing to the agents, like I've been wanting to do that for months. And but I didn't have 10 emails ready to go, and the format wasn't absolutely perfect.
Well, we were literally talking about email formatting.
And Sean was like, every week you're not sending an email, you're not in their face. Send the average email, and at least you're in there. At least you're in their inbox. And it's just this like.
but they also, the agents don't know what vision you have.
No.
For what it could look like.
Exactly.
They're just receiving
And
it.
they just need to be, agents especially, we just need to inform them over and over again what we do.
And
be in
remind
their
them that
face
you're there.
and remind them that we're there. And then the other one was like, I don't want to be just another piece of email in their inbox. They get so many emails. And Sean was like, but be one of the emails.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're not in there at all.
Can be in there.
So I think that all these things of like, and it is very much in my nature and probably most business owners' nature, that we want things to be perfect before we do it. And I want to be fully researched, and I want, it to look like X, Y, Z. Like,
The best performing email I have is a 9-word email, and it looks like it's personal, not one of these ones with beautiful pictures and whatever. And it's literally like, hey, Jackie, are you still considering getting a VA this year?
Yeah.
And it looks like I've just physically written it to Jackie.
oh, because it's just text.
It's just text.
You could do that with the agents. Just say, hey, have you got any moves coming up that we can help with?
Yeah.
And just send it out.
Best performing email, but also I've been doing a lead magnet to agents at the moment, and they respond so much better to text message.
Interesting.
Like, incredible. They're not checking emails.
Yeah.
Well,
They
they
get
get
text
too
mess-
many emails.
They get too many.
That is true.
Yeah.
Text message, like Lauren's going crazy, texting back and forth with agents.
There you go. Okay. That's the next one. But I'm like, okay, what app do I need that's going to set up my tech? Like, I get very much, I've got to have the system and the stuff. I'm like, I should just text some people.
Yeah, totally.
Text send is what we use to bulk send the SMSs out.
There you go. So yes, not waiting for something to be perfect before doing it. Just do it.
I love when the advice that we say to others is the advice we
Like,
should
you've been sitting on an email for how long now that you need to send?
I got it. I gave the approval. What else?
It's funny having children. I feel like, there's that phrase of like, oh, they're teaching me more about myself than I'm teaching them, blah, 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 which I'm like, oh, that's actually incredibly true.
Yeah.
And that, like, if Frankie's frustrated with something, I'll be like, girl, like, looks like you're frustrated. Like, do you want to keep going by yourself, or do you need some help? Like, and she's in the independent phase. So she always wants to keep going by herself.
Yeah.
She doesn't want help.
We have the same kids. And here's the Y phase and the independence. My God.
And I'm like, how often do I stop when I'm like struggling or frustrated and go, Kirsty, like,
Hey, looks like you're frustrated.
it's like you're frustrated. Like,
What would you like
do you
to
want to keep doing what you're doing?
it's like, do you want to like plow through because you really want to like get this on your own? Or do you just need to go and ask for some help?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not good at asking for help. And so like, it's getting the people around you. I think it's that like, oh, but I'm the business owner, so I've got to have it all together.
Look like you've got it all together. Yeah.
It's like, actually, no, I don't understand my numbers. Let's go get a phenomenal bookkeeper and accountant to help me understand my numbers. Or
And they're so good at that. So
They're
just
so
let
good
them
at it.
handle it. Or
100%. Or like the systems audit, like that drains my soul and I'm not good at it. So getting someone in to look at our systems and fix them so that, so I think figuring out when you need help or figuring out when you want to give it a good crack and it's what you're good at and focus on it.
But sometimes it's interesting because that systems thing. So I am the systems person. I love systems, and we just set up a new CRM, and I was like, I wanted to get in there and figure it all out. But I got in, and I'm in it, and I actually had to ask myself, do I want to work 20 extra hours the next week where I'm already fully at capacity trying to make this work, or should I get some help? And I went down and hired someone to come in and help on a temporary basis to set it up. So I suppose it's knowing what's those checkpoints for you when you're at capacity. So how do you know for yourself when you're at capacity and you do need help, or you need to let go or rest, or do you not? What is rest?
What is rest? Well, I'm working a lot at night at the moment. And I've never been a work at night girl. But I'm working on stuff that is energizing me. So I'm no, it's
we're really into it.
I'm with my kids during the day because I know that I've got a couple of hours at night I can just plug away. Whereas I guess it's finding your lane and what you're good at, and that I'm looking at my next few weeks, and I know that my work days are going to be full of the systems and the numbers, and I'm that's going to burn me out. So maybe that's somewhere I actually just need to get some support to do it with them. So that I can bounce off someone rather than slogging away on my own trying to figure that out. I feel there's people in your world that are good mirrors. My husband's a great one of you're working too much, or you're burnt out, you're grumpy as. Let's figure out who can take this load from you.
But
no,
he works does he work in the business with you? Oh.
No, he's in the music industry. But and again, it's one of those is one of our hopes one day that he can not necessarily work in the business, but look after the kids so that I can work a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, he loves his job. And we've just been blessed with, he had really great paternity leave that we took over a year.
Oh, good.
So he's had Thursday and flexible work arrangements and all of that. So what were we saying?
Well, getting you got him as a mirror, right? So he can help you recognize if you maybe can't recognize when you've kind of at that point. He can sort of hold that mirror up and say, hey, yes, you are grumpy and overworked and you need a break. Let's get some
but I definitely think it's the certain tasks that I'm doing, and I can always sense it in myself of this is either draining. I think it's pretty black and white for me. It's either incredibly draining or absolutely fuels me. And so I can quickly feel. And it's not to say that some of the draining stuff I need to push through. Currently, I need to understand the numbers of the business better. And I've had my head in the sand about it for a while because it's not my strong suit. And
I have a virtual CFO if you need her.
Because it's one of those where I'm I do need to understand it. If we're going to a new place, a new level, I need to be more around the numbers.
That this is where I'm at.
So I need to slog through that a little bit rather than just outsourcing it to a bookkeeper. So it's finding those.
This virtual CFO isn't in the Philippines, even though it's virtual. She's Brisbane, but she's been phenomenal. Working with the bookkeeper to make sure all the numbers are right, what's coming out of zero, but then looking at cash flow, forecasting, budgets, all of that.
Shout out to Danielle.
Yeah. She's a good friend of mine now that she's worked on the business.
But it's getting the specialists, like you're saying before, getting specialists who know their stuff. And sure, then you can get your head around it. But I think then maybe once you've got your head around it,
and I think that's
someone else can do.
I don't think it's not ongoing.
This is where she does just project of let's get you understanding your numbers, getting the budgets under control, the forecasting, and then she sends you off, and you can stay with her monthly if needed, but to get you understanding your numbers, and then you might need her again in 6 months' time.
Well, I feel once I get a really good handle of it, that could carry me for a year until totally. Our systems are a lot bigger and I need a new understanding of what our money's doing.
Wow. And you said there is another child at some point in there. Another two.
It's we can afford it.
If we can afford it. So do you forward plan for that, timing and capacity in the business as well? Like, or is that sort of not on the radar at this stage?
It's one of those where I'm
That's
like,
very
I will not be
question.
getting pregnant in 2025. And it's actually like so nice. I'm like, I've got the whole year to like get back to running and exercise, and I don't have to surrender my body again this year. And for some reason, like, it's just really nice to go, this year is for the business. It's for me again. And then next year, and like, it is at a point that the day-to-day running does not need me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you were able to take that time
Yeah.
off, right?
Mm,
and if I step back, it's more that just the growth plateaus for
Yeah,
a little bit.
for sure.
And so that's fine.
Mm.
So
That's but
Yeah.
I suppose the reason I'm touching on that, so
Mm.
for me, like when I've had my kids in my business, I haven't been structured, been able to take
Yep.
time off, and being able to take time off, you know, even you said before about, you know, going away for a month and that type of thing. I mean, those are some of the reasons why you want to have your own business, so you do have the freedom to, you know, do that, whether it's, you know, annual leave or mat leave, or just spending more time, you know, with your kids.
yeah, it was interesting. One of my project managers is about to go over to Europe for 5 weeks, and we're having a meeting yesterday about what the plan is to like hand over to another project manager. And hearing her go, oh, I just don't know if I can like turn my phone off. Like, I was like, I remember being there, like probably 3 years ago, where like I couldn't leave. Like everything was so rooted in me having all the answers that I was like, okay, we need to, you know, set up a new system so
Yeah.
that she can go away
Absolutely.
and it's not all on her. But it was just a little moment of, oh, like I remember there was a camping trip where we were out of signal, and I was like,
Yeah, the world is going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and when then it got to a point where I can step away for 6 months. You know, I check in, but it's fine, and so it's helping them get there again. And yeah.
And was that part intentional? Like before you had your, you know, your last period off, like, so had you intentionally gone, okay, I know what that timing, I know what parts and roles I need to have in the business so I can do that?
Yeah. So before Frankie, it was hiring 2 women to do my roles. And it was interesting. The business grew more in that maternity leave than it had in the whole of its life up until that point, because all of a sudden there were 2 full-time women
Doing what you were doing.
doing what I was doing, plus I was still working. So it was like I was doing the role of 3 women. So no wonder we'd sort of hit capacity. So it grew a lot that first mat leave. And so then I just replicated that again before this second mat leave to accommodate growth, which we, towards the end of last year, just didn't kick over into. So the running costs were just a lot. But now we're there. So
Bloody killing it. I love it. So love it, love it, love it.
Congratulations.
thanks.
Yeah, I don't think we talk about business and, like, you know, but you have done so much, and I feel like it's not
having
often,
kids and babies and all the rest.
it's huge. So well done.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks. No, I think, it's classic. Like, we just look forward. I think, like, on one of those strengths finder things, like my number one's like futuristic, which like is good as a business owner, but I'm always forward of like, I want to be here and I want to be there. And so I like look at people and I follow people that inspire me to get there, but don't look back at the little business that started. And so thank you.
You're welcome.
I always describe it with my clients as like you're constantly climbing a mountain in business, and like even when you think you get to the top of one, like you get over the peak and you're like, oh, there's another one there.
Totally.
Right? That mountain. But like what we never do, because we're so busy and focused going up the mountain, is actually go, oh, okay, oh wow, geez, I have come up a long way, and the view from here is actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where I am. So, you know, maybe like, do you feel happy with where you are?
Yeah. No, like,
Good.
Yeah, really happy.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I have conversations with, you know, women starting their businesses, and they've got questions about like payroll or like BAS, and I'm like, I know the answers to these. And I remember being there and being like, it's terrifying and you not knowing what to do. And now I'm like, oh, that's actually very straightforward for me, and I learned that. And so it's nice to look
They're at the start of their mountain and you're up here going, you can do it, get it.
You're looking over to the east going, look at that mountain.
Such a big mountain.
With big, beautiful homes on it.
Yes, which we might
That you can climb.
Yeah,
absolutely.
totally.
Oh, well, that's been,
If you want to climb it.
I think, climb over the way. I think it does. She's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm excited. Yeah, it's so fun. I think the last 2 years I've said the Eastern Suburbs is our next
You
thing.
do realise this podcast is going out in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So
See.
You ready?
You better be in the
You've got
east.
3 weeks. Go.
Uniforms, order.
Yeah. New business cards.
No,
Made out of silk.
Yeah.
hey, it might happen back half of this year
Mm.
because it's already happening anyway,
Mm.
organically.
To get you on that trajectory.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
on a little bit.
There's a little dribble.
little drip.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been
It's gone
absolutely
so fast.
lovely chatting
yeah.
with you. It does always go really fast. I think, every time we have a guest on, it's like we could probably sit here and talk for like another 3 hours.
There's so much.
Yeah, but we've been like Joe Rogan territory of like 3-hour podcasts. And I don't know, we're quite at Joe Rogan's nice, yeah.
Not yet.
Maybe this is the one, guys.
This will crack it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and
thank you so
we can't wait to watch the rest of this journey and be a part of it, and definitely go follow along your brand. I've looked at your Instagram, your branding and everything's beautiful. So if you work in real estate, go and connect with.
Behind every post is me panicking about whether it's perfect enough.
Yeah.
So give us some likes and love as well.
Yeah.
It's probably something I should hand over.
Probably.
Oh, so you're still doing all your socials?
Yeah.
Okay, that's another whole nother 30-minute conversation.
You know that VA that we were talking about
Yeah.
the last year?
Just like a VA
That's
company,
what
it should be
yeah.
doing. Oh, well, thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this episode with someone you think might resonate. And look
Or
forward
needs to move house.
or needs to,
Yeah.
get some help.
Specifically in the eastern suburbs.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.